let's talk about Donald Sterling's business background, which you talk about at some length in your story. Maybe starting with Alan Glick. Who was Alan Glick? What does he have to do with Donald Sterling?
Well, let me tell you why what I have to do with Donald Sterling.
Okay.
Because Alan Glick is here nor there, but when the Donald Sterling thing broke a month ago, I knew Donald Sterling as a guy who in 2006 named a guy I've been investigating for about 7 years, a Saudi drug trafficker, owner of a CIA proprietary airline, and Lieutenant Adnan Khashoggi named Rami al-Batrami. Sterling named this guy Humanitarian of the Year for helping the homeless. Now, I knew that when I first heard the name Donald Sterling a month ago making these racist remarks, but I hadn't paid any, attention to it particularly for 4 or 5 years. Now, why I'm interested in Rami al-Batrawi, to get back to the point of what I'm doing, is Rami al-Batrawi is involved with Adnan Khashoggi and a network of American drug lords. The people that were responsible for 2 American registered planes being sent out of St. Petersburg in 2006 and 2007 and being busted in Yucatan with a total of 10 tons of cocaine on board. Nobody on the American end suffered any sleepless nights worrying about the DEA coming to ask them questions. On the other hand, down in Mexico, poor Mexico, people were being tortured to death and turning up dead as a result of both of those planes. And another example, and see, the Mexicans know this now. I mean, they're not stupid. They know about the hypocrisy of the American drug war. And they've even a guy like Vicente Fox, former president and George W. Bush's bosom buddy, made snide remarks about where are the American drug lords? How come you guys don't have any? So this guy Rami al-Batrawi, who was named Humanitarian of the Year by Donald Sterling, is a functionary in this drug trafficking, in this officially sanctioned drug trafficking operation that includes dozens of Americans.
Daniel, before we get into the real meat of the operations of these people, since we are on the subject of the Donald Sterling Center for the Homeless, or Medical Center for the Homeless, or whatever it was called, and Rami al-Batrawi's Humanitarian of the Year Award, you write that not only was there and nor is there any such institution as the Donald Sterling Center for the Homeless or whatever, and that apparently Rami al-Batrawi did no work at all for the homeless. That is, I think, perhaps an interesting point of entry into what these people were really doing.
Yes, and it's something they do a lot of. And Donald Sterling didn't make off-the-cuff remarks. He issued a press release, which is a public sort of thing, and it leaves a paper trail. So he named this guy Rami al-Batrawi, who at that point had just been indicted along with Adnan Khashoggi by the SEC for basically financial fraud, for stealing $100 million worth of investors' money that turned out to be over $200 million. Okay.
Yep.
That was the backstory that existed the day that Sterling named him Humanitarian of the Year. So I asked myself, who is Donald Sterling? And when you look at and I also got a clue, and I got to tell you, this is something you won't find very often in a USA Today story that was headlined something like, Sterling better be careful because reporters are starting to poke around into his history, and there's clearly some bodies buried back there. So they were threatening him, sell the team, fade away, or the X is going to hit Stan.
Even USA Today will investigate.
Exactly. So Donald Sterling. Now we can get to Alan Glick. First thing I found out about Donald Sterling is he was a personal injury attorney. which, I mean, I'm sure they're necessary, and there's probably a lot of good ones, but it's like the lowest rent sort of lawyer, okay, that there is, okay? They're known as ambulance chasers collectively.
Right.
Okay? And yet, this ambulance chasing attorney is today worth $1.9 billion. Now, I am sure that there are rags to riches stories like that have no sinister undertones to them. But I don't come across very many. So I asked myself, how did this... And what it reminded me of immediately was Alan Glick. Now, nobody remembers Alan Glick anymore, but back in the 70s, Alan Glick was an ambulance-chasing attorney in Kansas City. He was just a kid, 27 years old, and he went from chasing ambulances in one short year to owning 4 of the biggest casinos in Las Vegas. When they made a movie, the movie Casino,
right,
with Robert De Niro, played the Lefty Rosenthal, the guy the mob put in to actually run the casino, and Alan Glick was the front man. Alan Glick was gifted with $87 million. Back then, in the 80s, they weren't talking billions yet. $87 million worth of loans from the Teamster Central Pension Fund,
right,
which he used to buy out what looked like mob interests in Las Vegas casinos. They were cleaning them up, don't you understand? and so now this clean guy named Alan Glick supposedly owns the casinos, and of course he didn't own the casino. He's the front man, the straw purchaser. So the question came up in my mind. Well, is all that $1.9 billion really Sterling's money, or could he be fronting for some unnamed slightly sinister organization for some of that? So that was my point of departure. And just about the first thing I found out was that he's good friends with Alan Glick.
There you go.
Small world, right?
Right.
And in fact, in Alan Glick's company, he met his last, but his longest running mistress before the last one that threw him under the bus, at a birthday party for Oakland Raiders owner and managing general partner Al Davis,
right,
whose ties to the mob, as you well know, were well known and for years and years and years.
By the way, we went into this in For the Record program number 304 about the mob in the NFL, as well as other things, intelligence-related matters called Illegal Procedure.